Hello everyone, Corey Creed, Director of Training for Social Fresh here with Chris Penn. Thanks for coming.
Good afternoon.
And we're looking forward to your keynote speech in just a few minutes here.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, we're going to ask you a few questions. Feels a little bit like last year when we asked a few questions.
It does.
Yes. You are the Director of Strategy for What Counts now?
No, actually they changed that again.
Oh.
I'm the Director of Inbound Marketing.
Inbound Marketing.
Yes.
Very good. And what else do you do? I know you do a bunch of other things.
At What Counts, I like to joke that I'm the human fire extinguisher. Whatever's burning this week, I'm in charge of putting it out. But I'm also an author. I've published 2 books so far. The first was Marketing White Belt. That was under my own label. And then for What Counts, we have one called From Audience to Evangelist.
Okay.
Which is available on Amazon now. Both are on Amazon, and I'm working on the next book in the series called Marketing Blue Belt.
Okay.
It will eventually be a series that progresses up to a black belt.
Very nice. Which is something else you do.
Yes, which is something else to do. I am now a 19-year practitioner of Togaku Ninjutsu with my teacher Mark Davis up in Boston.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to make you mad.
Oh, you can make me mad. That's fine. I won't care.
Okay. So now, when did you come over to What Counts from Blue Sky Factory? When was that?
I didn't come over. Blue Sky Factory was acquired in July.
Okay. And the transition from Blue Sky Factory, which had a pretty good page rank, attention, links, social media presence. Talk to us a little bit about the transition from one to the other. How difficult was that?
It was not difficult. It was a lot of attention to detail.
Okay.
So, for example, making a lot of redirects for content as we move content from one place to the other. The biggest challenge we ran into was actually socially. The reputation of Blue Sky Factory was well-founded. Yep. 10 years, Greg Cangelosi and his team did a phenomenal job of building the reputation of the company as a participant and a member of the community.
Okay.
No one had ever heard of What Counts, including us, until we got acquired, besides a few people here and there. It was a Seattle-based company originally. So the challenge was, okay, how do we take the practices and the formula and the recipe cards that we came up with at Blue Sky Factory and make them work for the new company, build things up, because you can't, it's not like transfers of a physical asset. You cannot transfer goodwill. You have to re-earn the goodwill. And the same practices that worked for us at Blue Sky Factory we're doing now. Content generation, providing value, showing up at conferences like this and supporting the community. You cannot buy your way into goodwill easily. I mean, if you have a lot of money, you can, but we don't have that kind of budget.
So if I understand correctly, the transition of the website, the Twitter, the Facebook, the SEO, the link value, all that stuff, that went pretty smooth for you. Just build a plan and go through it?
Build a plan, go through it, and then just build new stuff. I mean, there's only so much you can do with redirects and only so much you can do with pointing people. At some point, you have to be providing new value.
Yeah. So,
for example, one of my staff members very recently wrote a blog post on how you can tie email marketing and Pinterest together. I mean, that's a thing that every retailer has been struggling with, and we sort of gave it away for free because we figure, this is something that will help people start to get their hands on this whole Pinterest network.
Okay, very interesting. The other question I wanted to ask you is with regard to email. You've been working with email now for a long time between the two companies. Email deliverability, we get this sometimes with some of our students. I remember the old days of internet marketing. It's you got to not use certain words in your title and things like that. What exactly determines email deliverability now? What do we need to do to make sure we hit people's inboxes?
Got a couple hours?
Yeah, that detail though.
It is in a lot of ways. So there's 4 different aspects of this. There's the content, which is very, very minimal. There are only a few corporate firewalls like Barracuda that still do content filtering because for the most part, content is pretty safe. There's your past history, what you've sent. If you send crap, you will get blacklisted. There's no way around that. You've got to provide good value. Okay. There is your reputation, which is what you've sent and what ISPs think you are worth. And then there are the sort of the global factors like if you're on a shared IP with the pills, porn, and casino guys, that server's IP address is getting blacklisted, and you're going to have a harder time sending mail out. So once you get to a certain point, we like to say once you're ready to graduate from the $10 a month email provider and you want a little more oomph to your delivery, you have to look upstream at certain providers. But basic practices for everyone: don't ever send content that isn't good. There's the 3L criteria: laugh, learn, or love. When you're putting together a newsletter or a promo or whatever, if you don't laugh, if you don't learn something when you put it together, because you're the expert, if you didn't learn anything, your audience isn't, or you don't absolutely positively love what's in that creative, do not hit the send button. Go back, sharpen your pencil, and come up with something that fits one of those criteria. Ideally, you want it to be all 3.
Yeah, well, very similar to public speaking.
Absolutely,
Very
absolutely.
similar. It's the content.
Right.
So the old days of not using free in the subject line and that kind of stuff, not as big a deal anymore.
Not as big a deal. It's reputation based, and we're actually starting to see behavior based spam tracking. So, Google and AOL are messing with this right now. Where if I send a newsletter out and it gets no opens, that's sort of a ding on reputation. Says whatever you sent, people didn't want it. Whether or not you've got the right return path score, whatever. Nobody opened that. So what's going on there? And sites like Google and stuff can track all that very easily, so they can say, you're starting to behave like someone who does not have a legitimate list.
So that lends itself towards keeping the list clean.
Keep the list clean, but keep the content valuable, so people go, I want this email. Peter Shankman, who runs helpfulreporter.com, is sort of the gold standard of this. He sends out an email 3 times a day, which, according to best practices guides, is horrible.
Yeah.
He gets angry, tweets, calls, posts on Facebook, and general yelling if his email is an hour late.
Yeah.
Because people love his content so much that they are desperate to get it. Because it's like, I could be on CNN if I just get to that query first.
Yeah.
So that's the gold standard. If people are yelling at you when your newsletter is late, you're doing it right.
That's a good sign.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course that lends itself towards know your audience, right?
Yes.
We don't want to encourage all our people to go email 3 times a day.
No.
Depends on your audience. Well, great. Chris, I don't want to hold you too long because I know you have your keynote next.
Yep.
Thanks for coming down and be a part of Social Fresh.
Thank you.
All right, sir.